Hey everybody. I know it's not President's Day, but President's Day is the next holiday. I think it's Sunday or Monday or whatever. President's Day, we're going to skip President's Day this year because we don't have a good president. Um, but since we're not allowed to skip it, I guess we can talk about some of our favorite fictional presidents, which I wouldn't mind you commenting down below. Problem I have with talking about favorite fictional presidents is the only ones that would actually count real good would be presidents from books or TV shows. So most TV show presidents don't count because they're basically comedies. I'm not going to include comedic presidents. They're specifically there for a comedic purpose. I'm also not going to include presidents. I might do another video one day of presidents. I think I may have done a video of this before of presidents who were elected in the Marvel or DC Comics universe. I believe I've done that before. I'm not 100% sure. I might do another one, but again later. But a lot of TV shows, the president is comedic, or the president is not seen doing much. He's a background character of the show. You have to have the actual show be about a political drama. So for most presidents in these shows, the president, you don't actually can figure out anything about the president as in their politics, their policies, and whatnot. The main, and that's the same problem with presidents in movies. A lot of people go, well, we like Harrison Ford in Air Force One, so he should be one of our great presidents. Only because he stayed on the airplane and fought for his family. That's, I mean, what was his politics? I mean, honestly, he apparently wasn't that great of a president because, well, he allowed terrorists to literally take over his ship, Air Force One. He also allowed one of his own cabinet members or Secret Service members or something of that nature was actually on the terrorist side. That's not very good. That's if you, I mean, if you think about it, that's not a very good presidential thing. Plus, to stay on Air Force One and try to fight the terrorists yourself, wow, it's badass and ballsy. It's not a very presidential move because you almost allowed the vice president of yours to become president of the United States. And create a weird precedent because if you hadn't have made it, you wouldn't have made it. So and then of course you got the president from Independence Day. Again, he has a ballsy move of getting into airplanes and fighting alongside the people, which honestly is the last ditch effort on the basic grounds that, well, the whole world's being invaded by aliens, and at least if he dies with the people of the planet Earth. So, yeah. But when he was president, what was it? The show doesn't tell us anything about his policies. actually, as the president, he does not handle the alien invasion crisis very good. He's about as good as the Mars attacks alien invasion crisis guy. Well, he's better on the fact that he literally will go into battle with his people, while that president's more of a coward. Um, but like I said, on most TV shows um, that have a president and another one's an American president, um, and some other various president shows where people say, and of course Dave, I believe, where people say they like that president. Well, I'm over here like I watched the show, the movie, and he doesn't really do anything much presidential. We don't see anything where we know what his politics are or his whatever are. And Hollywood is a little bit biased because for the majority of the presidents, good or bad for that matter, um, they usually make them Democrats in these shows. Case in point, the longest running political drama where everybody ascribes political every political drama has always ascribed to be like was the West Wing. I haven't seen much of the West Wing, but maybe it's because it was on before my time, or maybe I just don't watch TV that much. Um, but I'll watch it sometime. But I gotta find it on DVD, or if I can't find it free, um, on like YouTube or something. I don't really want to watch it that bad. Um, but the point is, most political dramas are ascribing to be like that one. So yeah. Now David Palmer on 24, I will admit he was a pretty decent president, but again, we really only see what he did 5 days because he was only on 5 seasons. And his administration was chock full of people that were trying to backstab him. That obviously means you weren't a very good president. Another show that I actually like a little bit, but I totally disagree with most of the politics, is Commander in Chief. It's an unrealistic scenario where a Republican president picks a female running mate. The female is Gina Davis, and the actress that's who she plays. The girl is literally a typical educated Ivy League feminist liberal feminist, and which no Republican would ever really appoint as their running mate. It just it wouldn't happen. Um, the idea is she's supposed to be independent, but all throughout the show, you can clearly see her liberal stance coming out, including the idea that she picks her VP running mate, which was a Democrat, to be her VP, a wartime Democrat. Plus, she's like clearly a Mary Sue because everything she defies everybody else's wishes, but the people love her in the polls and the basically, and it always comes out good for her. We don't really see any major flaws with her in her short run 1 season TV series. Another show I found some free snippets of was called The Oval. It's a weird show. I mean, that president, uh, the whole president's family is effed up. I'm telling you, Tyler Perry's Oval. It's effed up show. It's all kinds of weird drama like a soap opera going on. And yeah, president's white. His wife is black, but he's having all kinds of affairs. It's a bunch of crazy stuff going on. And his both his children are a little on the crazy side. Like his son is like a serial killer. Okay, it's crazy. It's a bunch of crazy shit going on. But again, you have no idea, no clue, and they're using the Secret Service to cover up all this stuff. You literally have no idea what the president's politics are. Supposedly he's a Democrat, maybe I guess, but everybody's throughout the whole entire show. They literally push into Obama was so great. Their liberal bias to showing with their Obama bias to showing Mr. Tyler Perry. Hmm. I don't like that. That you're gonna push that. So there's there's another show that I liked. I actually liked it. It also a possible scenario, a highly improbable scenario, was the Designated Survivor show. I like that show where Keith Sedlin of 24 plays a secretary of like education or housing or something. I have no idea. Anyway, he's a designated survivor, and for some reason, I guess at the inauguration or something, he like blows up. The he doesn't blow up. He's hid, and somebody blows up basically the government. The government. And I'll actually like to play devil's advocate here, but even though I know that I believe that the president of the Cheyenne government in Jericho, I believe he has knowledge of and potentially knows that the about the terrorist attack was part of his people. I think he knows this and using it for political gain to become the president of a new country after the United States of America split. Every time you see him on screen, though, he looks like a pretty decent guy. And um, I don't agree with his politics, but I think that he's a pretty decent president because there's a few things that on the show I don't like. When they went to a constitutional convention for the New Cheyenne government, how it pretty much abolished the Second Amendment. You know, I'm a big Second Amendment fan, so not too fond of that. But he does act pretty presidential. He gives pretty decent speeches in the show, even though he's a bad guy. Um, I wouldn't mind watching the Designated Survivor show again, all three seasons. But again, I can't find them free or cheap, so might go to a DVD store one day and check them out. Anyway, but for the most part, there's been all kinds of weird movie shows where basically, hypothetically, so and so people become president. There's been all kinds of snippets of presidents in all kinds of anthology series where you only see a president for basically one crisis. You have no idea what. Like the Outer Limits has an episode where the president, who just got elected, by the way, is bunkered to the underground bunker, and aliens are pretty much going to take over the planet. And he makes the wrong choice. because he thinks the aliens are attacking them, when in reality, they're not. They're actually trying to come in peace. And when he makes the wrong choice, they take that to be hostile and basically attack, which they're actually doing. Basically, they're basically attacking in self defense. They take their peaceful gestures as an attack, but in reality, it was a peaceful gesture. So, but that's you literally know nothing about this guy. You have no idea of his politics. He seems peace trying to keeping, willing to try to negotiate with these aliens, but it's pretty hard to know. So again, that's the deal here. Most of the time, you only see a president in one very small snippet, and you don't get to see everything how they handle. And if you do get to see everything how they handle, they either try to make the president be like overly too good or overly too bad. There's a show that I heard probably pretty good called House of Cards, but literally the president in it is like supposed to be a bad guy. And his wife, who somehow becomes vice president, which I don't think they would allow, realistically speaking. Also, he resigns or something. She then becomes president. I think she's just as evil and conniving and bad as he was. But that's like the last episode. Now, the West Wing, from what I have seen of it, they show you all the behind the scenes stuff, which is good, and they show you both the faults and the successes of the president while he's being president. They show you scandals and the good and the bad, the scandals and the successes. All of that is shown from within the West Wing, from within the White House, from within the Oval Office, and so on. So that, and it's well, he is a Democrat. It's done more from a realistic perspective of what the president would do, and it doesn't always push, even though some of the famous lines are about the show are pushing a left leaning agenda, but in some cases, Jebediah Bartlett, I think's his name, is conservative, and in other cases, he is liberal. But then again, the show came out. When the show was out, we as politics, the country wasn't as divided as it is now through politics when the West Wing came out, what, 10, 20, 20, maybe 20 years ago? It's probably also why I wasn't really watching too much of it. There are some other shows where again, the president's comedic. Plenty of comedic presidents. Shows where you have, there's even Brady Bunch. I don't know how, but somehow in a Brady Bunch universe, there's a Brady Bunch movie, where Mr. Brady becomes president. It's crazy, I know, but yeah. There's another show way back in the 70s, I think, that did basically what Commander in Chief already did, what Commander did before Commander in Chief did what they would do. There's another show called Madam Secretary, but it's actually more about the Secretary of State, I believe. but it's about the presidency and that too. So you, I haven't seen that show either, and probably it's probably a decent show to watch because since you get to know what's happening with the Secretary of State, you get to see what's going on with the country and the presidency too. But it's told from more of the perspective of the Secretary of State instead of the presidency, which is cool. She does become president somehow in the show. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So if y'all seen some of these shows and you know, comment down below. Matter of fact, if you know a presidential show, TV show, like comment down below. Now the next best bet I would have to learning more about president is if it was in a book. If you have a book series where you have the president doing stuff, and it would have to be a political intrigue novel like a Tom Clancy stuff. Tom Clancy, you could do pretty good with Tom Clancy novels. His political novels, I believe most of them are linked together in the same universe, like the Jack Ryan ones that have Jack Ryan in it. All the Jack Ryan shows are in the same universe. Uh, which, by the way, spoiler alert if you don't know this, but Jack Ryan eventually does become president of the United States in that universe. Now, from that novel perspective, you could learn a lot about the president's politics and whatnot because of that. Now, there are all kinds of times when you don't really find out a whole lot about the president of the United States of America. A lot of the times in these video games or television shows where you see the president, it's not, you don't really learn much about their politics or their political stuff or their policies or any of that because we only deal with seeing a president from a one hit perspective. And yes, there have been probably hundreds of times the president that someone has played the president in these hit and miss movies. Yes, the best part of all these movies is usually this president makes like a great speech, which yeah, but again, it's Hollywood. Someone has to write that speech for that particular situation. So while the Independence Day speech might be good, while the speech from many a president movie, like Deep Impact, for example, that Morgan Freeman does at the end of the movie, while that speech might be good, Hollywood wrote that speech and probably had speechwriters. I mean, even politicians have speechwriters. Hollywood did the same thing. So it's not really the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So again, there's all these cool presidents. So if you have a cool president from like a TV show, movie, book, comment down below. One of your favorite fictional presidents. Now I know that a lot of Marvel characters and a lot of DC characters have become president in the various different DC and Marvel multiverses. And I'm not going to include those because, for the most part, unless there's a story arc where they're the president for a fairly long period of time, you don't find out much about their what they actually did as president. See, to judge what I would say the best way to judge a president wouldn't be based off of what they did during one crisis or one event, but what did they do during their whole entire term as president? You shouldn't judge people based off of their faults, and you shouldn't judge people based off of their successes. You should judge people based off of their totalness. So while I say I don't agree with most of the presidents on television, that I would say that you have to that they don't make very many of them. And if you know of some television show, go ahead and comment down below that I haven't mentioned or something that you think that they show off the presidency better. I might have to check those out. But for the most part, a lot of movies they don't have a good president. Most of the movies have the president as a Democrat or an independent. And the only reason they have him as an independent is because they really don't want to say what the president really is because they don't want people to not go to the movie. I mean, I saw a movie. I don't remember what the name of it was called, but it was pretty good. It was kind of like Air Force One, but better. Well, not better, but it was the vice president who was a female who had to save the president in the White House from terrorists that was kidnapped. It's pretty good. It was not as actiony because of like being I guess a movie from the 70s or something, but it was good. It was like Air Force One, and it was. I saw another the Air Force One is Down show. It was pretty good, but it didn't really have much to do with the actual presidency at all. I mean, it just was terrorists who kidnapped the president, and some people saved her. And those people had to be a Russian spy, British intelligence officer, and an Irish ex-American who joined the Irish Army. Yeah, saving an American president from some terrorists. Yeah, a dictator, uh, dictator general of one of those like Soviet bloc type countries or whatever. It is pretty good. But we have White House down, and we have Olympus Has Fallen or whatever. Which Olympus Has Fallen is part of a three-part show. It's one Olympus in London, and then Eagle, whatever the other one, third one is. Whatever the third one is, well, it's basically it's a good trilogy. It's a good trilogy. That president, he's pretty tough. I mean, don't know much about his politics, but no, he's really not a supporter of terrorists. So pretty tough. That president, I'm going to suggest he's probably Republican, but which means he probably has some Republican-ish policies. Jamie Foxx is president, and White House down. Yeah, we're gonna have to. Nah, we're gonna have to. It's just unrealistic. The president. Yeah, it's craziness. He's obviously supposed to be a Democrat, and he's obviously supposed to be Obama, I guess. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is Movie shows don't do portray presidents that well because you don't get to know much about the presidency. TV shows portray them better, but only if the TV show is actually a political drama. If it's a comedy or soap opera or something that just happens to be set in the White House, it again doesn't portray the presidency that well, in my opinion. Uh, and you can't really know much about how good a president is just from one snippet of one crisis or one successful thing or one type of event. Because for dramatic purposes, usually most movies are going to be something bad happening. So obviously, the president is going to be portrayed either as doing a lousy job at the bad thing happening, or leading his people through which is America, through success of the bad thing that's happening, getting not so bad anymore, regardless of the politics of the particular president. So we don't know nothing about those politics or policies at all. You might hear a little bit of snippets about something, which would probably be more than likely something related to nowadays issues or the time of the movie. Anyway, remember, God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Keep on gaming. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Jesus loves you. Jesus God. Jesus Lord. Jesus King. Jesus is ruler of everything. Comment down below your favorite president. And if you'd